Everyone, welcome to the Republic Bank Decibel Entertainment Festival, final day of our virtual festival being held here in Trinidad. That's right, COVID times have created COVID circumstances. And essentially, whereas we've enjoyed 6 years of doing this as a festival on the ground, this year we've had to make changes like so many other festivals, I guess, across the globe. Obviously, it's a pleasure to have you here, Dunnie, on our broadcast. I mean, I've had a chance to really, sit down and read about your amazing work, and to have you as a creative director, especially for the people that you've worked with on our show, and I'll let you kind of go into that as your history is certainly a pleasure for us. I wanted to say that I was nervous, right, until I saw that interview you did, or read the interview you did, where you talked about going into the I think it's P. Diddy's office or something, and they interviewed you, and like you forgot everything because your tie wasn't on the correct way.
Yeah. That was the worst moment ever. I was mentally ready to go to war, and the first thing she said was, "Your tie's inside out," and the confidence was just gone. I was just completely shot out the window. I was like, "Oh shit, this ain't gonna work out." All everything I pre-plotted and planned, I was like, just all I could think about. Sorry, I was like, tie. I was like, why the tie? I was like, of all things, the tie. But I was blessed. Obviously, everything did work out the way it was supposed to. But yeah,
Right.
One of those experiences that make you get so comfortable with any interview after that.
Well, I mean, it's sort of like it gave me so much confidence afterwards, because there's nothing like feeling comfortable after knowing that people who have made it went through the same sort of, issues, you know what I mean, that you may have had. So
and I couldn't go back home because this is during the housing crisis, and I had found out that same week that my mom was losing her home. So I got put in a weird place of, do I try and go back home and we figure it out there, or do I really take that leap and try and make it happen for myself in LA? I really believed in myself, and my girlfriend, who's my wife now, believed also. And, I kind of just had to make it work. I slept in the car for many, many, many weeks. I was hustling through, online stuff. And I'm not going to say like there was like some great moment where it all flipped and turned around. Like, it was a slow build until 2 years later, we finally had our own stable place to live. And it was just it was a lot of just like little micro things. A lot of people want to see where I'm at now, or they hear the story and think that like I just had one great moment and it just catapulted me there. It really wasn't. It was hundreds of micro experiences that got me better from the last for the next. Iron sharpens iron, just help chisel away. I constantly look at every time or every interaction I have with a client as a learning experience. High paying job, low paying job, there's always something I can learn in that. And during those times, instead of beating myself up because I made the wrong decision and the job thing didn't work out, it was like, I'm finally in the city I want to be in. Just take every opportunity and let's just see what happens. So jump forward. I got blessed to finally, really get linked into the actual music industry. So then I was able to work with people like all of Maybach Music, Rick Ross, Meek Mill, Wale, bunch of the lower tier artists. I worked with Hit Boy exclusively with his label for a little bit. Then I got tied into the actual music labels, where then I got to touch a huge range of artists daily, which was great. Kind of lost my joy for that because, it's kind of like a rat race, and I wasn't really getting to be as hands-on as I really wanted to be, because it's like artists were really just like line items on my email thread every day. I wasn't really getting to sit and cultivate the ideas because the label moves so fast. They just want shit. They just want it out. So I decided to, part ways. I went back to being a freelancer and do Instagram. And this is the good part of the story everybody wants to know. Like, how did I eventually meet Puff? It was randomly through Instagram. I was not popping. I had like 600 followers, and some guy sent me a DM. He's like, "Hey, I work for Puff." And it's my best friend now. His name's Carlos. And I looked at him. I looked at his profile. I was like, this guy's lying. He don't know no Puff. I was like, he's an intern. Like, he's a nobody. And so we developed a relationship over 2 or 3 years, actually. And I found out he actually did work at Puff's creative agency, Blue Flame, at the time. But we never actually had any conversations after that about Puff. We just had a friendship. We were homies. You know, we worked on stuff together. And then one day he gave me that call. He was like, yo, Ciroc really wants to do stuff on social. I see what you're doing on your personal social. It's different, it's creative, it's new. Like, would you be interested? And honestly, it was for Ciroc, and my brain is just a hustler. Like, everything I did as a creative was honestly because like I had bills, I had things to take care of. So I just thought about it as like, all right, this is a side hustle. I could just, you know, make creative for Ciroc and still work on other things. Put together, you know, a proper presentation, sent it to the VP. He just happened to be coming to LA that week. So timing happened to work out in my favor. You know, I got the initial call. I put together a deck within 24 hours and sent it out, which they weren't expecting. And it worked out because then the VP happened to already be ready in the city. So I got to kind of take advantage of that. Met with him, good energy was there. And they're like, yo, let's make it official. Like, let's have a proper interview. That's the horror story that he brought up earlier with me and the tie. I studied the lady I was going to interview with. You know, she was well known, so I studied her YouTube videos, her social, just to get very familiar with her, so I could be confident going in. Because at this time, I was going in for Ciroc. I was not going in to work with Puff. Okay. So I'm long-winded. I'm gonna wrap it up here. So like, when I go in for the interview, that terrible tie moment happens. I'm over it. I'm like, didn't get it, don't care. It's whatever. And Puff's day-to-day manager happened to walk by and see me, and he just peeked his head, and he was like, yo, who are you? What are you doing? And I'm like, I'm just here for Ciroc Social. It was like, that's what I'm here to interview for. And he was like, let me see your resume real quick. Grabs it and just walks away. He was like quite rude. That's my homie now, but he was a real dick. I was like, what is going on here? I was like, this place is insane. And then Puff walked by. Like, he just walked by randomly. And then I panicked. I'm like, oh God, I got to get out of here. Like, this is all not going. And then Puff's walking by. I'm like, this is just too much. And his manager came back in. He's like, yo, I think you should sit with him. You should talk with him. I'm like, who? He's like, go talk with Puff. I'm like, I'm not talking to this man. Valet me. I want to get the hell out of here. But, you know, I had so many opportunities in my life where I was working next to artists, but I never felt like I was really having the one-on-one connection with artists. And I was like, you know what? Let me not walk away from this opportunity. Like, of course it's frightening as hell. It's Puff Daddy. Yeah. Like, but yeah. I gotta grow a set. I gotta go do this. At least say I tried. So I go in, I sit with him. Puff is everything you expect him to be. He's the most intimidating, nice person ever. Without, you know, this is who he is. We have an interesting conversation where we don't actually talk about really anything. We talk about movies. He asked me about his Instagram. And it was really like free flowing, you know, and he had saw my my portfolio. He was actually looking at it the whole time we were talking, which I found out at the end of the conversation was then freaking me out because like, oh shit, he was judging me this whole time on my work and I didn't even know. Right. And, you know, lo and behold, it was a great conversation. I got a call the next day. They're like, yo, Puff loves you. Like, you know, let's get this going. So right. I jump in, starting with him on social. So originally I went in for Ciroc Social. Ended up doing Puff Social, just making content. I was over 2 guys at the time. And before you know, within about 6 months, I ended up just heading up everything when it came to social. And then within another 6 months after that, I became his creative director. And that's when things just went insane because I was not really ready for the scope that this man does. Like, he does so much. He does so much from Ciroc, De Leon, Bad Boy. We had a Bad Boy tour coming up at that time. And then in the midst of that, he decided to shoot his documentary, Can't Stop, Won't Stop, and numerous, you know, micro projects in between that. And overnight, my workload went from like making cool shit on social to like, hey, $1 million campaign here. Oh, we got this deal with Live Nation. Oh, we're shooting this documentary. And the things that he was asking me for, if I was only doing just one of those projects, I would be extremely confident at that time. Right. But handling several at one time at a major level, I'm not going to lie. Like the first couple months in, like I felt really, really overwhelmed. I felt like I really wasn't the right guy. Like everything was mentally like not there. I was beating myself up constantly. And then one day, just a conversation with my mom and really just self-evaluating. I was like, what the hell am I really so scared of? Like, am I letting the numbers scare me? Am I letting people scare me? Like, what was it? And I really just had to take that step back. I was like, there's fear isn't real. It's false evidence appearing real. I was like, I'm putting this on myself that I'm not capable, when if I take away the fear and look at what I'm doing, I'm beyond capable. He wouldn't have put me in this position if I wasn't capable. So I really had to turn myself into like my own alpha male in a sense. Like I had to give myself that level of self-confidence that I was kind of like, I guess you say, really lacking up until those moments. And once that shit clicked, like it honestly became a breeze. So that's why I could tell people nowadays, like I went from, being homeless in LA to handling $1 million campaigns. It doesn't faze me anymore. It's just, I'm so hyper focused on the work and, enjoying the process every single time. Like I don't get scared. I don't get intimidated anymore. And I really just love what I do. I'm honestly like probably a huge dork. People may not assume, but I really love this shit. I could literally do it forever.
So you said you're 32.
Yeah.
Right? So you've really, really accomplished a lot in a really small space of time. I mean, you're still, okay, I guess I could say young. Right? I'm
You're dancing around. It's cool. It's okay. It's all right.
You are.
But you look great for your age, though. So you're holding it down.
Well, all right. Thank you very much. I won't give you my age, but thank you for the compliment. I'll take that any day. But no, you seem to have really done a lot of stuff in a really short space of time. And to think that you're even a lot of time, still a lot of tough stuff ahead of you that I'm pretty sure you want to do. But what I want to ask you about that one particular moment in time when you did realize that I'm the man, I'm the one person that he wants to do this stuff. Was that moment for you like the moment where you were like, wow,
I'll tell you guys, because I'm with you guys, I'll tell you guys the exact honest truth, exactly how it happened. I had went on a quick vacation for my birthday to Portland, Oregon. And on that trip, I had actually interviewed with Adidas to be head of the originals team. And went there. It was actually an amazing interview. They weren't even prepared because I came overly prepared. I had like a 52-page deck of designs, some shoe designs, social assets, marketing campaign. I did it on the plane because like this is how I work. And it was just an amazing experience. And they offered me the job. And I was only within, like I said, it was like my first year working with Puff. And I had just this level of high. I remember like leaving the Adidas office, like, damn, like I just did that. Like, why have I been so worried this whole time? Like, what has it been in me that's been freaking me out, that's making me feel like I wasn't enough? And we'll get to that later on in the conversation too. But that moment of like, damn, like, okay, I work for Puff. And I just left Adidas, and Adidas just offered me this job, which is like on my list of like dream jobs. So as I contemplated that job, I had to fly straight from Portland to Miami for a Ciroc shoot. It was the first major commercial campaign we were doing. It was Puff, DJ Khaled, French Montana, millions of dollars on the table. And one of the partners we had at the time was 72 and Sunny. If you guys are not familiar with it, like, top tier advertising agencies that handle everybody. So through that process, up until that day of shooting, I had felt a little, out of my league compared to these guys. These are guys who have, 40, 50-year-old white guys who've been doing, major marketing campaigns since their early 30s and stuff. And, they have awards and shit. And I'm like, I'm just me, I'm just a regular dude. Like, shit, I didn't feel like I could compete. But after that moment of leaving, Portland, I honestly felt invincible, to be honest. And I was like, yo, I'm about to just go. And I was actually on the lines like, I'm probably going to quit after this video. Like, I'm about to go to Adidas. Like, this is cool, but this is Adidas. So we get there first day on set. And I'm not even 10 minutes into the first shot of the day, and I see 50 things wrong, from the lens to how they're shooting Puff, to the script, to the audio, to the lighting, to everything. There's so many things I saw wrong. And my usual instinct is to just bury that all in. I would just see it and just not say anything, because I was very passive at the time.
Right.
And then wait till after the fact and like complain about it. Like, I can't believe they didn't do this shit. But in that moment, I said, like, it was like, I had that Zen moment. I like the limitless feel. I felt invincible. I was like, you know what? I was like, I have no fear. I have nothing to lose.
Right.
I was like, yo, Puff. I was like, this is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. The list was endless. And he was like, all right, if you see it, you just like, and that's the type of person Puff is. He doesn't really care who is saying it in this moment. He's like, oh, you see all this shit is wrong? This is my money on the line. Fix it. So I immediately was like, all right, cool. So I, sad to say, like, bogarted the director and had to co-direct this commercial that I had really nothing to do with in real time. And so at the end of the first day, and then I sent Puff a recap of everything I still felt was wrong that I feel like we need to implement into the next 2 days of shooting. So of course, you know, we're not wasting time and money and all this stuff. And, you know, he called me within minutes of sending him this text. And he was like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, he was just this crazy Puff Daddy pep talk. I felt like he was in my hotel room. Like, he was just, I was like, word. I was like, and it was such a great confirmation from somebody like Puff at that time, though. Like, just got this confirmation from Adidas. And now Puff is giving me this confirmation. Like, dude, you got it. Like, stop overthinking this shit. You would not be put in these positions if it wasn't for you. Like, it is your time now. Take this shit by the reins and go. And so I ended up, you know, really, again, I never been in charge of a multi-million-dollar commercial. Like, I did hood rappers. Like, we would run in, you know, in warehouses and then get kicked out by the police. Like, I never had, you know, that level of team there in infrastructure to shoot such an amazing commercial. And I did it over the next 2-3 days. And I got that bug, and I really just didn't follow up with Adidas, because I was like, this is where I have always wanted to be, and I'm here now, and I'm just gonna take it. Okay.
Any challenges you've ever encountered of being a Black creative?
Oh my God, it's such an interesting question too, especially nowadays. There's been a lot. You know, the hardest is, perfect example earlier with dealing with, like, you know, a major company like 72 and Sunny that's ran by majority older white guys, right? Let's be honest. Like, and I'm blunt, so excuse me if I'm too blunt. But, you know, even the company is owned by old white guys. Like, in those type of settings, you automatically feel inferior. They make you feel inferior. They make you feel less than, especially if you're young. And I'm young, and I look young. I sound young. You know, I don't feel like I'm really gonna turn into an old guy. I feel like I'm just look like this forever. But, you know, especially in those early days too, like, there's this arrogance that you run into a lot. And something I realized too, especially because I've been blessed to be in a position now, I hire more creatives than I actually like implement stuff. As I've grown as a director, finding Black creatives is incredibly hard. Finding Black creatives who have the right experience for what I need to hire them is even harder. As a Black creative, I was lucky because of my age. I kind of came in the game when there wasn't as much competition. It was a little bit more scarce compared to now, where everybody thinks they're creative. You know, somebody gets Photoshop with a camera and all of a sudden, you know, they're popping on Instagram. Like, it's ridiculous. And nobody's taking the time to really learn the skills of the trade as well. But it's opportunity, like being able to give that hand or give somebody that open door, that internship, that conversation. Like, a lot of that is really lacking. I find so many Black creatives when I meet them, I can see that they're almost there. I can see somebody's work quick and know where you're at. And I run into it a lot. It's like, you're like a year out, maybe 2 before I could really put you in position to handle this. And when I talk to them, I realize quick, there's no opportunity for them to get those legs up. They're stuck in like a rat race. They're only, you know, in the same clientele. They're not really given those opportunities. They're not looked at that. I'm gonna be honest. I've been guilty at times when on projects and hiring people, we don't automatically think about hiring a black person at times, because when we're going for like, oh, we need a fire edit, majority of the time we know a white guy who's a better editor, just because his work is more well known or he's more in our face. And more recently, especially with coming to Revolt and my partner Dion, like we're extremely cognizant about that. Like I hire a ton of black creatives now. I have like my own personal Rolodex and stuff, but that actually took a minute to put together, which is like sad to say. Like finding the right black creatives at the right caliber who could come in, you know, at a high level in the industry is rare. And it really boils down to they're not given enough opportunity and chances. Like, and it's sad, you know, it's just kind of the way it is. Black people, especially in the creative realm, I feel come in very disenfranchised. I know a lot of white kids who decided yesterday, oh, I want to be an editor. And guess what they had access to? Their parents bought them a laptop. They bought them all the access to the proper software. I'll be honest, I didn't actually own Photoshop or the Adobe Suite legally until like 5 years ago. Like we all had the bootleg copies and stuff like that. It's just that's all we had. Like that's just what it was.
Right.
But on the
those kids' parents probably had the connections too, right? Those kids probably
got
had
them
the connections.
everything from the camera equipment to the right lenses, the editing software, plugins, the LUTs, all that. They literally get to go in being fully prepared to where their limitation is not creativity. That is a huge thing, like especially black creatives, because we're not equipped with all the skills in the beginning. Creativity is a limitation because we don't have everything to help us think fully. You know, how can I shoot you the best video if I have not all the equipment? If I don't even have the right sound, if I don't have the right lighting and stuff. So that it's just opportunity access is the biggest, hardest thing I've noticed being a black creator.
Well, I have some other questions, but I'd like to probably shift a little bit to, and I'll probably go with the ladies first on this one and give Melanie an opportunity.
Good night. So, you know, I've been working in advertising for over 16 years. And, you know, I was just wondering, like, in terms of, you know, I've been doing some reading up on you as well. And I've listened to the podcast that you do at Meeting the Creatives. And, you know, we're just wondering, like, you've obviously worked on a lot of different brands, with a lot of different artists and so on. But what is your creative process? Like when you're presented with a brief from a client, and you know, obviously everybody goes through their own individual creative process, and then you know you're thinking about, okay, well, this is what I'm being asked. Because another thing I was also wanted to ask you is if your vision for a particular campaign or brand may be different to what the client was thinking of, how do you go about, you know, bringing forth what your ideas were and trying to really push that through?
That's a great question. So it's two parts. So I'll answer the first one, the process part. So I use a more recent client as an example. Motorola just came to me recently, and I'm working on a few projects with them. I can't go into full detail on the product, but I can go into the process of that. So they sent me a packaging for a product that they wanted to release very, very soon, from a few agencies that just did not cut it. So I saw it, I studied, I was like, okay, so it was like, here's where you're at. And they just explained, they're like, yo, we want this to be the first time we've ever shown people our product in a brand new light. That's the most expensive product we've ever done in this category. You know, we want to compete at the same level as if this was, you know, Bose or Sonos, blah, 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 blah. I was like, okay, cool. I was like, so you guys want to go very, very, you know, high-end, sleek. Really the process will start with, I'll hear that and I'll have my first interpretation, right? So I'll take down notes. I'll start making my mood board of what I feel it is. Then I like to challenge the client if they have not already put it together, like, give me your visual references now. Like, you tell me what you're kind of envisioning for it. So just so I know on their end without any influence from me, if I'm on point or if I'm, or you know, if I'm going too far right. And then from there, I'll kind of just, I'll take a step back from them and I'll kind of start diving deep into like my concepts. And that's when I usually go through like the most turmoil as a creative, because I hate everything, then I'll love it. And then I'll hate myself and I'll think I'm the worst person on the planet. And then I'll make something, I'll spend hours on it and I'll delete that shit because I'm like, oh, this is hideous, I don't like it. And then eventually I'll get confident again and then I'll package it together. And then, you know, I'll start the process of, you know, here's first concept. How do we go from there? I'm lucky in a sense where I've pitched so many times. I really feel like I perfected how to, you know, give them the good, the bad, and the ugly, and steer them in the right direction. Where I was like, I know this is what you're gonna want. And the question I feel like really also falls in line with who you are as a creative and the client connecting to you. If you're a creative, you know, under an umbrella of somebody else, they're coming to you as an extension of who you're under. So you're kind of like at the mercy of that at times because you have to, you know, fulfill the vision of the company or of the brand or the agency. But when you're selling yourself as an individual creative, having, you know, that one-on-one with the client, that's when I can honestly say you're going to have a lot more flexibility and power to help steer that person into your vision. For myself, like a lot of people know my taste level, my aesthetic. So when they come to me, by the time they come to me, it's not too much of an argument. I've kind of built that reputation up, you know, from the content and from people knowing my stuff throughout the years. So it's glad to say now it's not as hard of an argument for me to push them where I feel they need to go. Even if we may not agree all the way, at least I'll push them enough where it's like, great, this is at least 50% better than the hideous shit you wanted to do before. And at least, you know, we can land on that. So it's all a process and a journey though. Like it's, how do I say it? Make it short and sweet. All those micro things that you're going to do in your career, always be cognizant about placing yourself very, very, very in the middle of you and the creative so people understand you and your vision. And every time that is going to attach itself to that project and that person, and that energy is going to go forward for you on your behalf. So people are always going to remember and always going to bring it back. Like, yo, Melissa was like super on it. Like, I remember she argued this and she was right. Like, you know, Dunnie would not stop complaining about this. And it was actually the best thing. Like, it's consistency with that. Like, you can't expect people to really take you seriously and to trust your vision if you're not consistent with, like, you know, always being on it.
Right.
I have a question with actually it's a two-part question. How do you deal with one, failure, and two, how do you stay relevant? Where do you get your inspiration from? Yeah, that's my question.
I love that. The failure question. Thank you. A great question, because especially, I'll be honest, if you're a Black creative, if you're a minority creative, the failure shit is going to hit you harder than anybody else, because you feel the weight of the world on you when you do fail, and you feel like you were just, again, you're not qualified, you weren't the one, you fucked up. You have to retrain your brain on what failure is. Failure is not failure. Failure is just another opportunity for you to learn how to not to do something. That was a hard one for me to understand, because in my early years, I feel like I was failing every other day. From bad contracts to, you know, overtaking on work I shouldn't have, or just the money being wrong. Like, I was like, man, I just keep failing. With age and time, I realized it wasn't failure. It was just, I never did the same thing twice. That is failure. If you keep going down the same path, the same way, now you're failing. But if you're making these mistakes and you're learning from them and they're not happening again, you're not failing. You're just getting better. Especially in creative. Like, to be honest, there's no two ways of doing it at the same time. Like, you're going to be creative consistently, but your path isn't going to be the same. Clients are never going to be the same. Projects are never going to be the same. Ideas are never going to be the same. But your tendencies are going to be the same. So if you're, the point is, like, you fucked up on a contract. We'll use this as an example. You took a job, you should have charged more. You fucked up. The next job comes along and you do the same thing, you're failing. The next job comes along and you realize, yo, I am not taking that low ass amount for this amount of money. I'm going to add in these three things. I'm going to add in this, that, and the third. You're winning. To the second part of that question, relevancy. It's kind of shit relative to you, right? People will say, like, oh, somebody fell off. Especially in the Black community, we love to say somebody fell off, right? If somebody disappears, we use a music artist for an example. If you don't hear from a music artist for like 3 months, you're like, oh, he fell off, right? It's the same type of pressure in being a creative, right? If you didn't have something go viral, if you don't have something popping, or if you wasn't attached to this shit, or we haven't heard from you in X amount of time, it's like, oh, you fell off. It's like, why put that pressure on yourself? It's non-existent. It's something that's, you know, you're putting on yourself. I used to think about that a lot. There was a time when I was super heavy on social media. and I was going, viral in a sense pretty often. So I kind of got used to that. And then when I had my daughter, I got off of social media like that, and I started posting, and I saw my engagement go down. And I started thinking like, oh shit, I'm not relevant. But then I had to take a step back and realize when I was just looking at the content, though, it was like, I believe in my content. You're as relevant as you make yourself. You're as relevant as you feel you are. Within relevancy, within creative, though, that's really just being a constant student. That's all I ever am. Beyond being in quarantine and have nothing to do and constantly studying creative, that's all I ever do before this. Weekends, nights, days, whether it's movies, television, film, seeing advertisements in real time, seeing advertisements on my phone. My wife can't stand me because I'm constantly picking shit apart, even from like her reality shows. I'll pick apart the lighting on set, or like catching a camera guy. Like my brain literally just doesn't turn off. I love this so much that I can't help but constantly just look at everything. Like I'll even look at my MacBook and reorganize it in a sense of like, I wonder if they put the logo to the left, or I wonder if they did a hidden logo. Like you have to constantly keep yourself surrounded by creativity on all levels. Like that's honestly your best way of staying relevant, because if you're not surrounded by your field, you're gonna naturally fall off because you're just not keeping up with the times. A good example of that is within like graphic design, especially within like album artwork, right? More recently, I say within the last 2 or 3 years, because artists with no budgets decided to start to make artwork for themselves, we would just let anything fly, to be honest. So then all of a sudden now, people are co-signing really shitty art. And they're like, oh, this is incredible. This is brilliant. Oh, this is fire. And it's like, no, it's really not. But within that, though, like it ushered in, I'm going to quote, like shitty artwork. But as a creative and as somebody who really cares, though, it's on you to understand what's current right now, right, and try and broadcast it to where it could be and slowly interject it in. I've had music clients that they like the shitty artwork look, and I kept that base there, but was able to skew them into something that's actually like more actual art, and not just doing something on your phone because it's cheap and it's easy and you wanted to get it done. Like you have to know what's going on, but still be forward thinking, and constant and study the past. Shit, I should have started with that first. Study the past, especially in creative. There's so much amazing creative back then to now, because they didn't have technology. So you have to really admire the fact that the level of creativity they had without technology being on their side is remarkable. And you can really pull from a lot of that, because then you can take low tech ideas from then and bring them into now, because we have shortcuts to help you get there, and start mixing all this shit together. One thing I love to do, especially typography, I love to look at old magazine covers and old vinyl music covers. I find a ton of inspiration in that because it was so untraditional. They had no real bounds to how they created it. So there's a lot of good stuff there.
What I wanted to find out from your experience, what advice would you give about stepping out of your comfort zone, trying to make an impact from the Caribbean, growing yourself as a brand post-COVID?
That's a hard one. Damn. He was quiet this whole time because he had the heater waiting for me. Okay, I feel like it was two parts of that question. I'm gonna answer the first part, and then you can bring me on the second part. Stepping out of your comfort zone, that for me, and I'll speak for that, is like it was breaking my habits. I'm a creature of habit, and that was very much putting me in a box. And when I realized, like, me staying that way was really limiting, like my life experiences, my social interactions, stuff like that. I realized, okay, I need to rethink myself, right? If I'm so comfortable doing this, let me start trying to do different stuff like that. Let me go and talk to people I would never talk to. Let me go to places I would never normally be and force myself out of my comfort zone. And what you end up finding is, at the end of the day, if you're a creative, you're an interesting person, and you're a Black creative, you're beyond the most interesting person. People can't wait to talk to you, but you got to put yourself in those places. They cannot wait to hear from you, but they ain't gonna hear from you on Instagram. Again, it's oversaturated. There's a billion people who said they're creatives. So how are you gonna get in front of people differently? And if you're only working within your same realms and doing the same shit, I'm sorry, but that's a rat race. You're not gonna really probably find the real opportunities. I can say the best opportunities I have literally gotten in my life were all the ones that I did something I felt uncomfortable doing. From taking a phone call I didn't want to, answering an email, a DM, all of them were rooted in like, I don't trust this person. I don't know about this shit, or like, oh, this might be bigger than me. But I stepped out of my comfort zone. I took the reins on each one of those things, and I'm reaping the benefits of those still to today. From relationships to jobs to work, like, so you have to break out of that. And what was the second part of that question? Because you hit me with the Mike Tyson punch out.
The second part was coming from the Caribbean, trying to build a brand internationally that's going to be recognized internationally post-COVID. Got you.
So, and this could be for the Caribbean, but this could be for everywhere, right? Building a brand is obviously the most difficult thing on the planet. Me and my wife, we started a business, a candle business together, and I build brands for a living, and this shit's hard for even me. So, but building a brand, you have to get your community, right? So think about this. You get your friends to fuck with it, right? You get the people they know to fuck with it. You start that ripple effect. Before you know it, you'll get the eyes you're looking for. If you go into trying to start a business or a brand and you want international, looks, you're gonna kill yourself trying to get there, because if you don't have the capital or the means, bro, it's gonna be a hard battle. Start small and let that organic growth slowly build, and it will get you there. It may not be immediate, but it will get you there, and it's all rooted in the consistency of it. Like, I can't say there's like a hack to it, because there's really not. You will hear about people who are like, oh, this person went viral, da da da. Honestly, we over sensationalize these stories too much, because they're all flukes, right? They're all glitches in the matrix. It's not a common thing. The real success, the real growth, and all these brands, the ones that we really look at more, is hard work. We'll use Jeff Bezos. This dude was in after day, every day getting a little win, a little thing on the board, and that all adds up before you know it. I heard a great saying. It was like, if you dedicate 30 minutes a day towards your goal, in a year you'll have dedicated, I don't know, like thousands of hours without even realizing it. Like, you have to not look at the big picture so much and focus on all the small things that you can accomplish daily, and guaranteed you, bro, it will get there. It's like dropping a piece of sand in a bucket, like every single day. Before you know it, that bucket is going to be overflowing. So I hope that helps on that question.
Sorry, JP, before you follow on, because I know you're going to go to Timothy next, I have a question just based on what you said. Were you a glitch in the matrix?
Shit. I was, yeah, I feel like because of timing and opportunity coming from a smaller town, I was able to stand out a lot more. So I worked on my side, but no, because I work my ass off. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I don't think there's anybody that can outwork me, to be honest. So really, if you want to say the glitch in the matrix, it's all about opportunity and being prepared, right? When the opportunities hit
you, because you only had a certain amount of followers. Remember, you said you didn't have that many followers. So how did that person find you?
So I believe he had found one piece of content I had posted on Instagram, but that was from me being consistent on posting on Instagram every day, using the hashtags, playing around with them, seeing which ones worked, which ones didn't, trying to figure out the algorithm. I wasn't really posting for, likes or anything like that, or following. I was posting because I enjoyed it. I look at Instagram as like an art platform. So that's how I curate everything. And yeah, I mean, I had thousands of photos. By the time he found me, I probably at least had like 1,200 photos minimum on my page. And it only took one to hit. And then, to my point earlier, like, then being prepared when the opportunity came. It wasn't the opportunity came and I wasn't prepared. The opportunity came and I was ready to strike. It was like, oh, a bag's on the table? Great, I'm ready to go after that.
The answer was yes, Simon. That's basically yes. He was a glitch in the matrix.
I know.
He did a nice song and dance. That was a nice song and dance, but we knew where he was going. You took a good punch from Norman. You took a second punch from Simon. And I have a third punch for you from Timothy.
Let's do it.
How do you think the hip-hop community became so interested in art? And what does it take in this current era of social media to get noticed by, like, artists like Puffo, who you've worked with so far, wanting to use, art for their album covers, like painting, drawing, that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
And, like in music videos.
Got you. Okay, great question. Damn, y'all really came with the heater. So that was like a 5-part question, and I'll start with first. If your town don't fuck with your art, it doesn't matter. I'm talking to you over the internet right now. I'm in LA. You're on an island. We have the World Wide Web, bro. Utilize the shit out of it. There are tons of websites and resources that you could, tap into to get yourself out there as an artist. COVID is honestly the best thing to me that happened for creatives, because now there's no reason why you have to say your location is keeping you from the bag, right? From getting clients. How you represent yourself, how you go about putting yourself out there is extremely important, but there are tons of resources out there. Companies are now looking for everybody. They really don't give a fuck where you are. They just want to know if you can do the job. So making sure your portfolio is right, making sure that you know how to engage with your clients, huge. Pimp out the internet like no tomorrow. Have an account on every website. I don't even care if they only let you post one photo. Like, take advantage of it, because you really never know who is going to be the one person to look on that stuff, and then being consistent on the follow-up. Now to your other question, the hip-hop artists and how they got into art, right? So hip-hop was always broken down into different subgenres in a sense, right? You had your underground hip-hop, you had your mainstream hip-hop, you had your hardcore hip-hop, your gangster rap and all that shit. When it all started blurring together and we started getting these like really mega iconic artists like Kanye and Pharrell and these guys who just started grabbing the world by storm beyond like the artists who were before them, these guys were like nerds, to be honest. They're dorks, but they had these interests and they brought it into hip hop. And because we use Kanye as the greatest example, like Kanye is this amazing artist in and of himself. He started interjecting pop culture art from all different sorts of medium into his shit. And he made it a new norm. He made it okay. Because before then, like if you go look at album covers really pre-Kanye in a sense, them shits all look the same. Look at G-Unit. Everybody's cover was the same. Dude on the corner, city backdrop, big text. It was the same shit. Like, it was the same thing. Then you have all these, like, so you have these new artists come in, these guys who are like, oh, I remember seeing this. Oh, I want this, I want this, I want this. Now they have money and access. What do? They call Cos. They call Keith Harer. They get access to Basquiat's rights, and they do all this shit, and they start interjecting the things that they like into it. The new generation is super into like anime and stuff, so that's why you see a lot more anime and cartoon stuff with a lot of more hip hop stuff, because that's what these guys grew up on, and that's what they've always wanted. They wanted to see himself as a fucking Dragon Ball Z character, and now they have access and means, and now guess what? Epic Records, make me my album cover, and I want to look like Goku. Like, that shit, that's just is what it is. To get your attention it's all in where you want to be, right? I'll flat out say it. 5 people I was obsessed with, still obsessed with. I think they're amazing artists. Kanye, Pharrell, Swiss, Puff, Jay-Z. These are the guys that I look up to crazy. And because of that, I studied their styles. I studied what they like. I got to get an understanding of a visual language that they were attracted to. So I started implementing that into how I design. Like, I see Kanye would drop something and he went super minimal. A line, like a good example, I did it on my page recently for Wiz Khalifa's Cushion Orange Juice mixtape. Huge fan of it. I made a montage, put it on social, something I wanted to do. I was bored in Corona, I had nothing else to do at times. Just threw it out there. Before I knew it, a couple of people started tagging it. The right person tagged it, and Wiz's manager saw it. And he was like, yo, this is dope. Send it to me. Nothing really came out of it, though, but I now have a line of communication with this guy off of something I did that I enjoyed, I, of course, went and studied Wiz. I studied what he was doing at the time, so I brought a lot of that inspiration into the creativity and stuff. But, there's really no losing in a sense. Trying is not losing. Trying is trying. And as a creative, you're only going to get better from that shit. So I hope that helps. Try and use the internet.
Yeah.
Sorry, JP, just one thing I'll say before you move on real quick. Timothy has a pretty interesting story, and Dunnie, I'm sure this is a story that you've heard time and time again. Timothy was approached a couple years ago by someone at Warner Brothers, I believe it was, who saw his artwork on some site and asked Timothy
DeviantArt.
to, what's that?
DeviantArt.
DeviantArt, right. And
yep.
basically, Timothy ended up contributing art to a little known movie called Wonder Woman, where his concept art was used in it. However, Timothy just, not having the experience and I guess the knowledge that some of us were fortunate to get throughout the years, they made him sign a contract in which he basically, his name wasn't added to the credits, right? So he's kind of paid off to just, they took his art, you know? Is this a familiar tale? I mean,
it's sad to say, it's beyond familiar. I'm guilty of it myself. I did it in my early years a bunch of times, and I wasn't really cognizant of it at the time. I didn't, to be honest, look, most Black people, we don't have lawyers. We don't access to legal help. You see these massive contracts, you try to do your best to understand it. You really don't. The first thing you really look for is to make sure that your name and the dollar sign is right. You're like, great, that's my name and that's my bread. Cool. And you don't really pay attention to anything else after that. It's a sad thing, but it's true. Going back to, means and access. But, they, again, especially with Black creators, they kind of know these things, right? No matter if they want to say it out loud, they know it. And they will take advantage of that fact because they know if they throw some bread in front of you, you're more likely going to take it and they're going to walk and they're going to run with it. What you really have to do is, now that you're cognizant, it'll never happen again. When those times come, you dig deep, you fight over your contract, or you just walk the fuck away. It's really a personal decision. Like, do you want the bread? Do you want the recognition? Do you want the bread and the recognition? Do you know how about getting that? If you feel inexperienced with that, honestly, it's okay to ask for help. Find somebody who probably does. Like, okay, you may have to take an L. You might have to give up a little bit of bread to help get it done. But if you really feel that this is what you deserve, you have to do everything you can to get it done. Like, don't let somebody bulldoze you over some money. Like, if you're blessed to be in a position where it's like, I don't need it, great, do it. But if you need it, but you also feel like, yo, I put in my 10,000 hours, I deserve to have my name on this shit. Tom or Chris or Sam or whatever blonde dude is not gonna get the fucking credit for this. You fight for it. Like, that's just all it is, And I believe nowadays too, again, there's the internet, there's a lot of great resources, even if it's not a real lawyer. Maybe you find a local law student or whatever though, who is a little bit more familiar with this, and maybe, just throwing them some bread, they're broke, they're probably a student. Maybe that could be, a resource to help you better negotiate your contract, or at least give you the better terminology to be able to combat that with. I did it myself. I could speak from experience when I was fighting the labels for, I can't remember, it was like 20 or 30 grand that was owed over 3 or 4 months time. I just was having a lot of issues trying to get this shit figured out. And I had to go to somebody who I trusted from a couple of different sources, who was a manager, and I had him intercede in the situation because I couldn't figure it out for myself anymore. And obviously I had to chip him off what his percentage was, but I eventually got it. But it was a good experience for me to understand and know, like, I'm not a lawyer. I didn't go to business school. I'm a creative. Like, there's nothing in the creative field that really teaches you how to negotiate contracts and shit. So it's okay to look for help. It doesn't mean that you're stupid or you're less than or whatever though. You're a fire creative, bro. If people are willing to steal your shit, you're in the right path. Yeah. But it's okay to ask for help. Like, it's okay. Shit, even if it's your mom, have your mom pretend to be your lawyer and get on the email thread. Like, bro, get creative and don't let nobody take advantage of you. Like, just don't let it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that was a lesson learned, but it also did speak volumes about Tim's level of creativity, because if they would do that, then that speaks volumes about his stuff, his quality.
Look, the big company will always try and take advantage of the little guy. They know it. They know if it became a real legal battle, you could not box. That's it. But if you go into the situation though, and I think this goes to preparedness and what I said earlier about us not having, a lot of opportunities to have this game knowledge though. And we're on here and I can give it to you now. You go into the situation starting right off in the beginning, your perception has changed. So when those conversations originally start, how you come off to them early will dictate how they treat you later. So if they hit you over this stuff, you automatically let them know. Even, I'm telling you, lie. Great, I'll tie you into my business manager and get your sister an email that says @timothy.com and have her swing in. All of a sudden, whether or not I know this is real, at least perception is better. Like, okay, this guy is on it. Like, he's just not trying to jump in. He needs to work or whatever, though. He wants to talk about his business first before we go forward. Like, you have to really think about that. Not every situation will be like that, but you do have to think about, from a business perspective, if you're a solo person, you have to, you have to be serious about that shit. Because if you're not serious about it, people will take advantage of you. And artists, it's sad to say, Black artists, you will be taken advantage of.
I'd like to switch it over to Thruston. I know we're getting down into crunch time right now.
My question is to like, how do you, well, I won't say stand up, but how you, like, let's say as a creative, or even as a creative director, constantly be one step ahead of literally everybody else then? Like,
so that's a great question. And it's an interesting concept, one step ahead, right? I study this a lot because somebody will release something and I'll feel like, shit, oh my God, he's pushing the curve. He's doing something amazing. Kanye dropped a music video a couple of days ago. Everybody's praising it. That shit was terrible. But everybody's like, oh my God, Kanye is a genius. He's doing something so next level. Kanye is really only just doing what Kanye does. He's just doing what he feels. He obviously has access to money and tech and blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, he's doing what he feels is the right path. And what he's doing is just not what other people are doing. To your point, when you see somebody post something or a photographer take a photo, then all of a sudden everybody's doing the same thing. It's because majority of the world are followers, right? Like, they have no real sense of imagination, no real sense of creativity, no real sense of self. So it's a lot easier. Like, oh, I can copy that. Do you want to be great at copying people, or do you want to be great at being yourself? Like, I say that within my with my own creative. When I told you, like, I had a point where I was like, damn, am I not relevant on social no more? Like, shit, I'm not seeing the engagement. Then I just realized it because I wasn't just in that realm of, what people wanted to see anymore, right? A lot of my stuff at the time that had me relevant or popping, it was all celebrity based, right? I was like, I'm at cool places, I take dope photos, I do a photo shoot. I kind of pulled away from that because I wanted to draw more into the art I like, not for the art people like. Just is what it is. Like, how it'll get picked up is you be consistent with being you, and it only takes one. Great example, Justin Bieber. Kid had, I don't know, hundreds of videos on YouTube. It took the one that Usher found before it actually, look, we have Justin Bieber. Like, you can't get caught in the rat race of like, oh, that shit was popping, great, I'm gonna go emulate that. Oh, now this shit is popping, great, I'm gonna go emulate that. You're not you, you're not your true self. Timothy's a great example. I'm pretty sure Timothy is not copying other people's shit all day long to how his shit got copied. Like, no, like, you have to double down, triple down on what you believe in. That's really what's being ahead of the curve. A mixture of course, studying and wanting to be better and all that shit, but like, you be you, that's being ahead of the curve. You being like everybody else, you might as well go buy bots on Instagram and get your likes up. Like, it's not what you want to be.
I think we need to probably have a Dunnie West come to Trinidad motivational session, Simon Batiste.
I can only echo, what JP said, but first of all, let me thank you, JP. You took the time to host this segment, and we're very.
I'm kind of under quarantine, so I ain't have shit else to do.
Right. True. I would also like to thank, of course, Melissa, who made this possible tonight, and I'm sure she had a connection from Caleb and that whole Overbrook camp, and everyone on that side. So thanks to Scotty and all those guys as well. The entire team that was on the ground here. I can't mention everyone because they're not in front of me and my memory is short. But Mark, Norvan, Melanie, Timothy, just the whole camp that got involved in Decibel again this year. Really grateful for you guys. Dunnie, that invitation. Once you Americans are clear of COVID, I never thought I would actually say this. Once you guys, because we're from the Caribbean, we battled that shit out. Like, we're done. We don't even have that anymore. We got rid of that.
LA don't want to listen, but eventually I'll be able to get out of this.
Florida don't want to listen either. Florida doesn't want to get on.
Oh yeah, Florida don't want to listen either.
Oh man, but we definitely would love to have you here. And the one thing we just had a great conversation with Caleb Pinkett. And
Caleb's a homie, yeah.
And one of the things that he said at the end of the conversation was that with the creators we had on board, he would be willing to, create almost like a pipeline where we could send him stuff, short films, maybe submit script ideas, etc., that he can, when he has time, take a look at, maybe even give us feedback. We hope that when we create the lesson, your first Hollywood lesson, but of course, Republic Bank helped put this thing together. So I want to say thanks to Republic Bank and visit Trinidad as well. And just everyone who helped make this weekend, because we're actually, Dunnie, this is the last thing for the weekend. It ends tonight with you. So we ended on a very high note having you on board.
I just want to say thank you guys. I super appreciate it. I hope you guys got some good stuff out of it. I be long-winded and I love to bullshit along with people and just have a good conversation. But yeah, man, like I said, I'm definitely open to doing this again whenever we can figure out that pipeline. Melissa has my contact information, so she can kind of thread it out from there. We could definitely go from there, man.
All right, bless you, man. Bless everyone. This call. This is the end of the festival. We're champions. Have a good night, everybody.
Have a great one, y'all.
All right.